One of the key things about the propaganda is to have very high censorship in the beginning, okay, in that stage that really matters, right? And then you can allow the truth after some time.
People may go, wow, was that late? I said, yeah, it was that late that the mall that you take to be just sort of there and always there actually began. So you start by looking eastward, the rising sun, the Capitol.
Because a lot of people are aware they rigged it for the Chiefs to be there. So now, guess what everyone's gonna think? Oh, easy. The Chiefs gonna win. And Taylor Swift, Travis Kelsey.
When Trump said the system is rigged, I understood immediately. Yeah, the system is rigged, right? And we all have been rigged. We have rigged ourselves. We have allowed ourselves to be rigged in order to be satisfied and complacent with a rigged system. Well, I was never satisfied.
So when you look at the story of Haru in Kemet, right? Because in Kemet you had User, Alset, and Haru. Those were the African names. You might know them by the Greek names of Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Okay. This story of Jesus was duplicated from that story many, many thousands of years before he was even born.
And when WikiLeaks came out a decade later, proving her that she was on the right side of history, and so she, more than anyone in Congress, should be advocating for free speech and advocating for anti-war journalism, exposing, the crimes of state.
When you talk about race, there's always a Black person. If you look at all of her covers, look at the transformation of Daniela Mercury over the years.
We're now coalescing to stop what by tradition, because tradition always emphasized class, the haves and the have-nots.
Imagine the reaction if someone were to say, but wait, well, Hamas did on October 7th, it was just mowing the lawn like Israel.
And then in the evening, it's like, here's why people invading our border, and here's why, we're descending into fascism. It's like a lot of opinion and sensationalism in the evenings, and those shows score a lot lower.
By a more planned economy, I don't mean by that everything has to be publicly owned, but a greater measure of planning in which there is a fair amount of room for all sorts of private enterprise, so long as it does not have the reins of state policy.
During Yugoslavia, for instance, I mean, they actually put into practice, especially in their Republic of Slovenia, which of course now is an independent country, they put in place that system of worker management.
A few islands here and there where, unions still have some density, as they call it, some composition that they can have some influence. But, the auto workers used to have 2 million members.
All the different stock trades that happened at the beginning of the pandemic, the CARES Act, doing trillions of dollars of wealth being funneled up to the top.
The criticism I've received of the book doesn't come in any organized, again, academic or even journalistic form. So and some of it is more personal. But as the argument goes, I'll just for the sake of time stop by saying I'm not aware of any substantive criticism that addresses itself to the actual arguments in the book.
When I'm with an African American, I will say honestly, Kiko, that I feel safe, I feel welcome. Then I'm with an African.
I came to the conclusion that these are redneck experiences. And that's all I got. All you got are your experiences. That's it. So I got to name it something. And I got to name it what it is, which is redneck. And if people don't like that, I'm sorry, but that's all I got.
I am Jewish. And that comes from me, I guess, having certain experiences and reading more into the Torah or the Bible. The Torah or even the Quran, they're not these stories. that's those are surface stories, but they're literally, I think they're scientific documents, and they're like the science of consciousness.
Y dijeron, bueno, vamos a crear nuestro propio mundo, vamos a crear nuestro propio paraíso artificial, lo cual también está relacionado con el primitivismo, porque es la búsqueda de un mundo mejor, la búsqueda de un paraíso artificial, de un universo propio para mí, donde me refugio yo con mi espíritu.
Build coalitions with people. And the thing is, there are people out there that agree with you and may not even realize it. How are you going to find that out? How are they going to find that out if you aren't talking with them? Like,
Right.
there are so many people that have joined the liberty movement in the time that I've been active in it, because we may have agreed on just one thing, and over time, you know, we're around each other more, we're working together more, and they realize, you know what, actually I agree with you on that too, and I agree with you on that too. There's a phrase I like to use: the more you can get someone into your orbit, the more you can affect them with your gravity.
The entire system, and Americans' oligarchy will not stand for the people to get any help at all. So it's over, it's dead. And I touched on with Ukraine. Now Biden not content to have had Ukraine blow up in his face. They're trying to start something with China and send Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan. And
Oh, yeah.
it's so is he better than Trump? I don't know how.
What we're building here at Free and Equal Elections is an independent movement. You know, it's really, I see all the candidates beyond party lines, whether they're running Democrat, Republican, third party, independent. And this February 29th, we're going to be hosting our first kickoff for a series of the presidential debates at XR Studios, and the people are going to vote in beginning January 15th. They will have from the 15th to the 26th to vote in the top 6 candidates they want to have in our live debate. So there's over 150, maybe 200 people running for president now, and it'll be ranked choice voting, and the top 6 candidates on a blockchain app, as it will evolve into, will be in our first round of debates.
We could cut Social Security, which is taking money out of young people's pockets, keep it for people who collect disability, which is separate, which SSID. By putting money into people's pockets, removing disability restrictions, we've now put money back into the disabled community's pocket.
If you're not on a list of some sort, the presumption should be that you should be allowed to come into the United States. And look, as an economist, not merely as a libertarian, but as an economist, I understand that immigration is good for the United States. It's good for us economically. It is good for us fiscally, which most Republicans would never want to admit. It's actually good for our government balance sheet. It's also good for us culturally. I believe that immigration is one of those things that defines America in contrast to other democracies around the world.
It's really never acceptable to go to war. If you look at the Geneva Convention, there are acceptable ways and writs of war, and they have all been violated, unfortunately.
I think my whole premise, I guess, for running president is, you know, you're the commander in chief. You are the head of the military. That is a military rank. They try to gaslight you and tell you that politicians aren't military ranks, but they are. They should be held accountable to the UCMJ and the Geneva Convention a lot tighter than they are.
So it